In keeping with the spirit of the occasion, I am also going to move forward on three readings, which will complete the section of Benjamin Franklin's A Modest Inquiry into the Nature and Necessity of a Paper Currency from April 3rd of 1729. It is 10:30 p.m. on April 4th, 2021. Let me start where I left off. I need not say anything to convince the judicious that our bills have not yet sunk, though there is and has been some difference between them and silver, because it is evident that difference is occasioned by the scarcity of the latter, which is now becoming merchandise, rising and falling, like other commodities, as there is a greater or less demand for it, or as it is more or less plenty. Yet farther, in order to make a true estimate of the value of money, we must distinguish between money as it is bullion, which is merchandise, and as by being coined it is made a currency. For its value as a merchandise and its value as a currency are two distinct things, and each may possibly rise and fall in some degree independent of the other. Thus, if the quantity of bullion increases in a country, it will proportionably decrease in value. But if at the same time the quantity of current coin should decrease, supposing payments may not be made in bullion, what coin there is will rise in value as a currency, i.e., people will give more labor in manufactures for a certain sum of ready money. In the same manner, must we consider a paper currency founded on land, as it is land, and as it is a currency. Money as bullion or as land is valuable by so much labor as it costs to procure that bullion or land. Money as a currency has an additional value by so much time and labor as it saves in the exchange of commodities. If, as a currency, it saves one-fourth part of the time and labor of a country, it has, on that account, one-fourth added to its original value. When there is no money in a country, all commerce must be by exchange. Now, if it takes one-fourth part of the time and labor of a country to exchange or get their commodities exchanged, then in computing their value, that labor of exchanging must be added to the labor of manufacturing those commodities. But if that time or labor is saved by introducing money sufficient, then the additional value on account of the labor of exchanging may be abated, and things sold for only the value of the labor in making them, because the people may now, in the same time, make one-fourth more in quantity of manufactures than they could before. From these considerations, it may be gathered that in all the degrees between having no money in a country and money sufficient for the trade, it will rise and fall in value as a currency in proportion to the decrease or increase of its quantity. And if there may be at some point time more than enough, the overplus will have no effect towards making the currency as a currency of less value than when there was but enough, because such overplus will not be used in trade, but be some other way disposed of. If we inquire how much per cent interest ought to be required upon the loan of these bills, we must consider what is the natural standard of usury. And this appears to be, where the security is undoubted, at least the rent of so much land as the money lent will buy. But it cannot be expected that any man will lend his money for less than it would fetch him in as rent if he laid out in land, which is the most secure property in the world. But if the scarcity of the security is casual, then a kind of insurance must be interwoven with the simple natural interest, which may advance the usury very conscionably to any height below the principal itself. Now among us, if the value of land is 20 years' purchase, 5% is the just rate of interest for money lent on undoubted security. Yet if money grows scarce in a country, it will become more difficult for people to make punctual payments of what they borrow, money will being hard to be raised. Likewise, trade being discouraged and business impeded for want of a currency, Abundance of people must be in declining circumstances, and by these means security is more precarious than where money is plenty. On such accounts, it is no wonder if people ask a greater interest for their money than the natural interest. And what is above is to be looked upon as a kind of premium for the insurance of those uncertainties, as they are greater or less. Thus, we always see that where money is scarce, interest is high, and low where it is plenty. Now it is certainly the advantage of a country to make interest as low as possible, as I have already shown, and this can be done no other way than by making money plentiful. And since in emitting paper money among us the office has the best of security, the titles to the land being all skillfully and strictly examined and ascertained, and as it is only permitting the people by law to coin their own land, which cost the government nothing, the interest being more than enough to pay the charges of printing, officers' fees, and etc. I cannot see any good reason why 4% to the loan office should not be thought fully sufficient. As a low interest may incline more to take money out, it will become more plentiful in trade, and this may bring down the uncommon usury, in which security is more dubious, to the pitch it is determined at by law. I'm going to end at the end of page 34. I will acknowledge right now there are 4 inaccuracies, which allows me to understand that right now there is working and underlying on this particular effort that wished for a different characterization than was actually fact. This will not post until tomorrow. I will, in the questions and comments for tomorrow, discuss the implications of those 4 inaccuracies.